This episode of WDW Today is being sponsored by MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. And now that January is here, it's time to plan that 2011 trip to Walt Disney World or maybe Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line. Remember, the Disney Dream is coming online later this month. Why not book that next Disney vacation, whatever it may be, and the travel agents at MEI and Mouse Fan Travel can help you with those planning needs, regardless of where you want to go, who you want to go with, how many people, 2 people, 20 people, it doesn't matter. The travel agents at MEI and Mouse Fan Travel are equipped to help you with any kind of trip you need help with. Check them out right now at www.mousefantravel.com.
This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Wednesday, January 19th, 2010, and this is episode 827 of WDW Today. I'm Matt Hotchberg from StudioCentral.com. Joining me on today's show is Mike Scopa, a senior feature writer and blogger for allears.net. Welcome, Mike.
In a moment, you'll be going live to our control center for a comprehensive safety briefing, and then it's on to the tour that will convince you forever that the future is truly in the past.
Alien Encounter Stitch.
No, it's a dinosaur.
It's dinosaur, Matt's favorite attraction.
I feel there's one thing I would know, Henry. It's what is on that ride, especially during the pre-show. It's the only part my eyes are open for. Also joining us on today's show is Henry Work, a developer for TouringPlans.com and the host of the Beta Mouse podcast. Welcome back to the show, Henry.
Hey, thanks, Matt. How's it going?
Outstanding. Henry, I just want to say on behalf of all the guys here on WWJ, we think you've been doing a great job for us. I know it's been tough with Len testing positive for those performance-enhancing drugs, but, you've been serving admirably in his absence.
Thank you very much, sir. It's been a blast.
I remember seeing Len at Reunion. He looked a little muscular, wearing those muscle shirts, and it all makes sense now.
Then once he had the cupcake, it's just pushed him over the edge.
It's Wednesday. We're answering your listener questions, and we're going to start with an email from Christina Hauser. Love the show, except we really need to get all of you to Victoria and Albert's. Should us listeners take up a collection and send you guys there? It's an amazing once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I really think you need to try it before you poo-poo it. And you guys have you guys been there?
I have not. I've talked to many people who have. I think that it's one of those places where you either love it or you hate it. The people who love it like the idea of having an elegant dinner, dressing up, and being treated in a very special manner. The others who I've talked to who do not like it say they don't like the lack of privacy. They don't think that the hoopla is all worth it, and they think that the price is just a little too high. So it's either you love it or you hate it. I have not come across anybody who's been like right down the middle.
Yeah, I mean, it's very expensive, and that's probably the reason I haven't tried it yet. But I've heard good things about it from people who have done it. So I don't remember poo-pooing it. I just think it's very expensive and everything. But I would like to try it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'd like to try it as well. It's always a pain to, bring super nice clothes on vacation. I don't know. For me, I don't like to check my bag. So always fitting like an extra pair of shoes and, a suit and stuff like that is quite the enterprise. I have been to Naparo's a few times, which is sort of the flagship restaurant in Disneyland, and that's a good time, but it's not nearly as formal.
Yeah, it's a good point. I didn't even have to consider the fact that you got to pack, basically a suit to go down there or a very nice dress for women.
Right. I like to travel light, Matt.
There's a good email for Henry coming up next. It's from Daniel Hill. I recently read an article in the New York Times which detailed some of the ways Disney is changing some of the things to combat lines and crowd imbalances. As a reader of the unofficial guide, we were wondering what impact these changes might have on the touring plans, as well as the crowd calendar line estimates throughout the year as the changes are implemented. So, Henry, you know what we're talking about here. It's that article in the New York Times that was last month in December, where they talked about that compound underground that Disney has to manage crowds.
I believe you mean the Disney Operational Command Center.
Yeah, you guys did an episode about it on Beta Mouse, didn't you?
Yeah, Beta Mouse episode 47. We went through the entire article and gave our thoughts.
So
I think it's exciting. I mean, they literally, track wait time gradations throughout the day, and they can apparently, on the fly readjust capacity. I think it's really cool that they're sort of monitoring stuff. The question is, they're already doing all these things internally to try to make the experience better for guests without even the guests knowing it per se. The real question is if they'll take the next step and, start telling people when the best days to go are. I doubt it, because then we would be out of business, but there you go.
So what do you what impact, if any, does it have on touring plans and lines and all that? Do you see anything at this point?
I mean, it doesn't seem to be that much. Definitely, the biggest question is how they do variable capacity attractions, right? So, like Space Mountain, how many trains do they run? At the peak time, they're definitely running as many trains as possible, right? But the question is on a Tuesday in February when the crowd level is like a 1 or 2 or 3, how many trains are they going to run? Because you have to, they want to get more people on the attractions to increase the, rides per day. But they also want to keep their operating costs low. I can't see any major trend going on though right now.
I would think that this sort of the actions that this compound operation center would entail would be affecting attractions that would be at times that would be unrecommended by touring plans. Like they would be like, 2:00 in the afternoon
right.
or Splash Mountain, which is a time that no touring plan would have you go there because they know it's going to be a very crowded time of the day.
Right. I don't think touring plans are affected very much. I think touring plans will be just as good and theoretically better if Disney's doing a better job at just keeping the overall attraction wait times lower, or at least keeping you more entertained in line. Like touring plans will only compound that effect.
Okay. Next email's from Katie from Pittsburgh, a.k.a. a teacher who couldn't take off for a reunion, so stop picking on me, Matt. I will not. Katie writes, in episode 824, you had a listener ask for advice on when to travel to the world since they had a teacher schedule. My husband and I are both teachers and have sworn off summer traveling to the world. Late August, in an ECV due to a broken foot, will do that. So what we do is take a personal day on a Friday and fly out to the world after school on Thursday. That way, you have 3 full days to spend at the parks. You really don't need a full day at Animal Kingdom. Fly back Sunday night, and you're back to school Monday. By going during off-season times, you can pretty much fit a week's worth of rides and shows in a weekend since the crowds are low. You can also enjoy special events like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, food and wine if you go in October. Granted, I wouldn't suggest this for families with kids, but if it's just adults, it's a great weekend getaway. Hope this helps. That's the way I always used to travel before I moved to Florida. I would always go for the long weekend, like take off Friday, leave on Thursday, like Katie just mentioned, and then go down for the weekend, as opposed to, I would prefer to take 2 of those kinds of trips rather than take a week off and spend, 7, 8, 9 days in Walt Disney World. I just felt it was a better use of my time, and, it kind of and it allowed me also to return multiple times during the year.
This would be a good weekend because you get Monday. So if you leave on a Thursday night, you get there Thursday night. You have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and part of Monday, and then you fly home Monday night.
Right, this past Monday, which was Martin Luther King weekend. Absolutely. Yep. Next email is from Emily from Dayton, Ohio. Chris Shaw just won the Powerball and wants to take his kids with different moms, ages 10, 7, and 5, to Disney World. Since money is soon to be no object, what would be the fantasy vacation you would plan for them? Would you stop by and see Harry Potter too? Should they move from hotel to hotel, take a cruise, go mini golfing, ride in the air balloon? I don't think they can go to Victoria and Albert's, but there's other fun food, I'm sure. This is a question for the show. Just curious what you guys think about it in terms of winning the lottery and what you guys would have in mind. So, without what are some things if you won the lottery you would want to do in Walt Disney World?
Wow. I think... I think I would probably try all the concierge levels of all the deluxe hotels, so I could come up with a good idea as to which one was the best. I would probably try restaurants that I haven't tried because I thought that they were a little too expensive, even though I hadn't tried them. So I could try them, like Narcoossee's and Victoria and Albert's, like we had said, that way I would be able to give a better indication as to whether or not I think they're worth it. Other than that, just take another normal vacation.
Yeah, I like your ideas, Mike. I especially like the idea of trying the restaurants. I would actually I would eat at a lot of these restaurants that you mentioned, Mike, but I would eat there like Linda's. I would just order one of everything because I wouldn't care because it wouldn't be an issue. I'd just be like, just bring me one of everything, your best bottle of wine, just give me everything so I can sample everything. And that way I don't really care. And be able to experience things unfettered by the fear of, how much is it going to cost in the end?
Let me ask you a question, Matt. Would you get one of those VIP tour guides?
I don't think they actually do much. I mean, maybe if I wanted them to watch my kid, and they're good babysitters.
Right.
But, I don't know about that. I like the concierge idea that Mike mentioned. I would go for some tours, maybe. I would just really try to see what money can buy you at Walt Disney World, and really try to push the envelope in that regard. Because, if money's not an object, why not do everything and anything that's available to you? Get a dessert party for 2 people. Really just anything that I would call, travel agent. I'd be like, Annette, I want you to book me whatever you can possibly think of. Just surprise me. You know what I mean? Just let me know where I need to be. Where?
Well, the first thing I think I'd do, I'll backtrack a little bit. I'd pick up Kara Goldsberry's latest luxury guide to Walt Disney World, and I'd check to see what Kara was saying about what's luxurious, and then that would probably give me some more ideas too.
There you go.
Yeah, I think if you win the lottery, you got to think big. I mean, you got to think renting out a park big. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
People. So this is the thing we internally motivate our ToryPlays.com staffers that once we hit our initial public offering, we're going to rent out Epcot and make them do Illuminations twice.
Nice.
So that's what we're aiming for.
Next email is from Jamie Hagel, who writes, it's Jamie Hagel from Wakanda, Illinois. Hello, crew and guests of WDW Today. Ooh, that's you, Henry.
Woo.
Oh, by the way, Henry, I totally forgot. Since Mike isn't here. Henry! There you go.
It's about to say, am I not going to get a World Series ring?
This is my 3rd time writing in, and you have been gracious enough to read all of them on the air. I've been enjoying the podcast leading up to our 2nd trip as a family with my 1.5-year-old and 2.5-year-old daughters, who are 11 months apart. Make way, Main Street, here we come. We purchased a Disney Vacation Club resale at Beach Club thanks to all of your wonderful suggestions, and we'll be staying there as well as Bay Lake Tower for the first time this summer. Anyways, on to my comment. I was listening to one of your past shows about the Dyson hand dryers. I'm not sure which one because sometimes it's hard to hear the details over the sippy and snack demands. I was yelling at my iPod because I know where the hand dryers that you're talking about are located. I don't think they are Dyson, but the Lightspeed dryers in the Animal Kingdom in the bathrooms by Restaurantosaurus. My husband and I discovered them a few years back, and it was the first time we had seen something like that. I used to be a flight instructor, and when I would open the window of the plane to stick my arm out, the skin would roll over my arm. This is what the hand dryers remind me of. FYI, yes, in a 2-seater, you can't open the window. When students are gaining and losing 200 feet per second in a 45-degree turn, it can be a little sickening. So thank you very much for your wonderful podcast. You are truly appreciated by all your listeners.
Do you guys enjoy the Dyson Airblades?
As I recall, one of our listeners told us about it. We had no idea what they were talking about, but I've seen them in other places other than Walt Disney World. They are very cool because I remember as a kid, or not even a kid, just remember all hand dryers in usual. You have to go stand there for like 10 minutes because it would take like, right. 2 minutes for it to warm up first. And then by the time, and then you kind of do, in the end, you just wipe your hands on your jeans because it's like, whatever, I don't care.
Right. They have some in DCA and Disneyland, but surprisingly, they have them in every single bathroom in Disneyland Paris. I think sort of some are Dyson Airblades, the ones that you like put your hands fully in and they sort of slowly pull them out.
Right.
But they have some kind of like rip off of the Airblade.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm a fan of hand drying technology personally.
That's the one thing that America needed was an improvement in their hand drying technology.
So this will pull us out of the recession, no problem.
Yeah, space shuttle fleet, they're 25 years old, they're fine. But we know what we really need? Better hand dryers. Good question for Henry again. It's from Mary Conway. I've heard that they've changed the selection process for Jedi Training Academy. However, this attraction does not seem to be included in any of the touring plans. Can you recommend a good time to go and stand in line and fit it into one of the touring plans for families? We have adults and 2 kids ages 4 and 6. And for what Mary's referring to is that Jedi Training Academy at Hollywood Studios, it used to be like just a standby queue. You get in line and first come, first serve. Now they're taking sign-ups in the morning. So what that means is it's it's first come, first serve, but they have like a list kind of. They have standbys, but those are technically you're not guaranteed to be in the show. You may be there for 2 or 3 shows before there's a spot for you, and the spots are from people who don't show up. But basically, you go there in the morning, you sign up, and then they tell you, okay, Henry, your child is in the 2:15 show. Come back at 2:00.
Woo!
So that's the change that was made. So Henry, how does this play into the touring plans?
I'm going to be honest here, and I have no idea.
It's a consulting question.
Yeah, what's probably more of a Len question. Is it literally first come, first serve? Could you go right after rope drop?
Yeah, it's really become – I've spoken to a number of the cast members, and it's very competitive. I mean, they generally fill up for the day by like 10 or 11 a.m.
Wow. Okay. So and then I presume you immediately go to the stage, even though the first show probably isn't until like 10:30.
Yeah, you would go there, right. Park opens,
Okay.
you run over there, you sign up, and then they'll tell you when to come back for your show.
A
My
good
recommendation.
option. Sorry,
Go ahead.
good.
No,
Well,
go
I'm
ahead.
just saying a good option is, if it's really important to your child to be included, definitely send, if you can, maybe send one parent to the Toy Story Fast Pass line. If you're really into Toy Story, obviously that would be your best bet. You have to be there like right at rope drop, and you have to do that immediately. You can't, go sign up and then try to get a Fast Pass because the line will be 30 minutes by that point, even on dead days of the year, really. So, that might work, splitting up and right after rope drop.
I agree. I like that idea. Certainly, basically being there before 10 o'clock in the morning. If you can get there, if you can split up, that's even better because then you can kill two birds with one stone.
Right. Or
But
maybe
even if you want to like ride to like get the fast pass for Toy Story, go ride Toy Story in the standby line. If you went after that, you'd probably be okay. As long as you're getting there before 10 o'clock, I think you're okay.
Yeah, you might not get the first show, but you might, if you're going to stay there through dinner or whatever,
Absolutely.
you'll probably get in.
Next email is from Jen from North Yorkshire, United Kingdom, who writes, hello there, lords and lady of the manor. So my husband texted me earlier, and all it said was Disney fact, Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon aren't Disney parks because they are off the premises. He is out in London for dinner with a colleague who resides in New York City, but was over here for a few days with this colleague and bestowed this fact upon him. Now my husband could not care less about anything Disney, but with me being a Disney freak, he thought this would wind me up something special. So he thought right. I text back immediately to ask him where he had heard this utter nonsense, and that Walt Disney World property was roughly 47 square miles, and of course the water parks are on property. He replied with the answer that the water parks were on Lake Buena Vista property and not Disney, and that his colleague's daughter is a Disney dean. Don't know what that means. So first of all, what's the deal with the water parks not being on Disney? This surely can't be right. And second of all, what on earth is a Disney dean? I thought this sounded like a great project question for Len. Or Henry, in this case. I have no idea what they're talking
I
about.
have no idea either.
No idea.
You can rest assured it is most certainly on Disney World property, like Disney owned property. That is definitely not the case. It's Lake
They're
Buena
not
Vista.
like leasing the land or anything.
Right. Disney World exists in 2 counties in Florida. It's mostly in Orange County, and I think a part of it exists in Osceola County, like by ESPN and Pop Century. I think that's technically in Osceola County. The taxes are slightly different, actually. I think Pop Century is there's barely a difference. But the point is that regardless of that, the water parks are definitely on Disney World property. I have no idea what a Disney Dean is.
I know it's Disney Dean on Twitter, but I don't know.
Maybe it's Brit speak for like smart Disney dude.
Yeah.
I have no idea. But Jen, your husband or your husband's friend is starting to lose it. So next email is from Oliver and Sue, who are from the United Kingdom. It says, "Greetings from the other side of the pond, Governor. We've been listening to the show for nearly 2 years and thoroughly enjoy it, and got to meet Matt and Len on separate days over reunion. Sadly, having recently been to the world in December, and with future ankle biters on the cards, we're not getting back for another 4 years or so. At least it gives me time to save for the Polynesian. Oh well, roll on reunion 2014. Anyway, I wanted to ask if you had seen or heard anything about the dining plan in 2011. I saw a rumor of one of the boards and looked for myself. In the Virgin Holidays brochure for 2011, they are advertising the dining plan for 2011 as follows. Quick service plan, 2 snack and 2 counter services, no mention of free mug for what it's worth. Dining plan, 1 waiter service meal consisting of 1 main entree and 1 beverage, no dessert, 1 counter service and 2 snacks. Now, when we were there in December for a fortnight, dessert was an effort some nights, but I would miss the option. We did only just use our snacks on the last few days, but this seems one more step they were taking away from the value of the plan. Are we seeing Disney weaning people off discounts by devaluing the plan, or is this just a bid to increase restaurant availability? No dessert equals less time occupying a space so they can fill it with another guest. Well, for one thing, I know that the UK plans, both tickets and dining, are slightly different than they are in Walt Disney, for Americans, I should say.
That might be,
That could be part of it, because she mentions in the dining plan there's each meal you get an entree and a beverage, but no dessert. And I know certainly the dining plan still today, as of this podcast episode, doesn't include dessert. So I don't know if it's a misprint or... What do you guys think?
I think I personally think that any changes in the dining plan are financially driven. And I think that what Disney's looking to do is trying to make it such that it looks like there's less of an impact on the guest, but more of an impact on the profit and loss line for them. I think that they adjust it very so subtly so that most people won't notice it.
Yep.
But truly, I think it's financially driven. They could give you the same and charge more, or give you less and give you the same and charge more, or charge you the same and give you less.
Yeah, that's like.
Yeah.
And Mike, that's like the original. Remember the original dining plan that Disney offered included an appetizer and gratuity, and now they changed it. And dining plan, same price, but you don't get the appetizer, you don't get gratuity.
Right.
So I think you're right about that. Next email is from Carrie from Wisconsin. We're planning a trip for October 2010. Oops. Well, soon. And we're planning on eating at dinner in the Beach Club and seeing Illuminations. We're staying at Port Orleans French Quarter. Based on a suggestion in the unofficial guide, we were going to drive our rental car to the Beach Club there, eat there, and then walk over to Epcot, and then walk back after Illuminations to get our car. After listening to several of the podcasts, I'm second-guessing if this is appropriate. What are your thoughts? Is it okay to leave your car there for 4 to 5 hours? Is it unfair to the Beach Club guests? If this isn't appropriate, how are we supposed to get to the Beach Club? Drive there, then move our car to Epcot and exit with the masses? If it's okay and we leave our car at the Beach Club, what will we tell the guard as we are walking back from Epcot?
So they have a meal at one of the Beach Club restaurants? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they are eating at where's the restaurant here? They didn't say which restaurant, but they're eating at the Beach Club for dinner, and then they were planning on going to Epcot to see Illuminations, and then return to the Beach Club where their car is parked. And they're wondering, I guess they have a moral conundrum, and they're wondering if that's okay.
I think that this is a personal thing, that if I'm a guest of the resort, I am paying a premium to park at the parking lot. I'm paying a premium to stay at that resort because of the location. It could be the Polynesian, it could be the Contemporary, Grand Floridian, Beach Club, Yacht Club, whatever. And I expect that I will have that parking spot, waiting for me when I come back at the end of the day. If guests are allowed from all over to park in my resort parking lot, then I'm going to have a problem with that. However, I do understand that you want close access to the restaurant, and I have no problem with someone parking there. I do think there should be a time limit, and they used to give out a 2.5 hour time limit parking pass, but they don't do it anymore. So I think you have to go with what you feel is proper. But I think it's important to put yourself in the place of the person who's paying X amount of dollars to stay at that resort and say, hey, do I want to possibly take that person's parking space when they come home? Because that's happened to me at the Polynesian. Long answer, I know.
No, I mean, it's one of those subjects that everyone has an opinion on, and I don't think there is a right or wrong answer to it. I think it's up to your own moral compass as to what's right or wrong. I think that the fact that you're not parking at the Beach Club to circumnavigate the parking fee of Epcot, so that's good. I mean, you're going there because you're having dinner. You're patronizing the restaurant. Obviously, you're allowed to park there because you're going to eat there, and Disney would tell you that. Officially, Disney would probably say that you should you go there for your food, and then after your meal, you would go back in your car, drive over to Epcot, and then go watch Illuminations that way, and then return your car in the Epcot parking lot. Again, my personal opinion, I think it's okay, especially because it's dinner. I would have more of an issue. I can see more of an issue with it if it's breakfast, like you show there for breakfast, and you spent the whole day in Epcot, left your car there the entire day. But I mean, it's totally up to you, and I think Mike said it right. It's up to you what you think is correct in what you feel comfortable doing.
Well, the other argument is that you park in the Epcot parking lot, you go through Epcot, you go out to International Gateway, and you walk to Beach Club.
Yep.
It's not that far, and then you come back to Epcot, watch Illuminations, and go out the parking lot. I mean, it's not that far of a walk from from International Gateway to the Beach Club. It really isn't.
Yeah.
You're totally right about that. Henry, what's your opinion on it?
I personally just say go for it, especially if it's just for dinner, because you probably only leave the car there for an hour or two after dinner. The one thing I would say is that there's not gonna be a guard who will ask you anything or razzle you on the way out. You know,
just the way in.
They ask you one question when you get in. You say you're going to the Beach Club for dinner, and tell them the restaurant. And on the way out, no one will talk to you. So.
Next email is from Jen Kirby. I thought I heard on a past podcast, love them by the way, about something called Sum of All Thrills in Epcot. If you have any idea what I'm talking about, can you please explain what it is? Henry, you're a good candidate for this since you guys had a meet actually over there. Explain to Jen what Sum of All Thrills is.
Yeah, I got to ride 6 loops on Sum of All Thrills with Lou Mangello. It was awesome. So Sum of All Thrills is an attraction that uses KUKA robot arm technology. So if you've seen one of those giant industrial robotic arms, imagine being stuck or sitting on a seat attached to the end of it and being whipped around. And the really cool thing is that they project sort of like a video game style graphics. You sit on this thing and a cover comes over, and projected in front of you is the sort of video game simulator ride, which is actually you go on a roller coaster that you actually design before you get in the robotic arm. So it's sort of playing up this engineering or science and math kind of focus. It's sponsored by Raytheon, which is a military technology company. And it's really cool. Like, they have these really cool touch interfaces to design the roller coaster. You can have the most tame thing in the world with 0 loops or really extreme ones and try to vie for these kind of points. And if you don't get the highest points in your design, you could just ask them to give you a more wild ride, and one of the cast members will. The one thing that I'll note is that, you have to have certain motion sickness, thresholds, but also there are sort of size limits. I was sort of just on the edge because I'm 6'5", so there's a seat outside just to make sure that you fit in, and also some people might get claustrophobic, so you might want to watch that as well.
Scubby, would you add anything to that, or are you good with that?
I think one of the things I was waiting for Henry to say is the claustrophobic aspect of it. There is a seat that's outside, and I would love to see them do this with as many attractions as they can, so people can try the seat. I think if you go to Harry Potter, you can try the seat. You can try the ride vehicle, the Harry Potter ride too in Universal, which I like that. It's really good. You can see if it's comfortable, if you're uncomfortable, if you're too tall, if you're too short, if you're too if you just can't fit in there, and if you're claustrophobic. I think it's a really good way to see before you go through all the design aspects of it, because you design everything, how high, how fast, and it's really disappointing for some people. If they go through everything, they get excited, then they find that the vehicle is very uncomfortable, or they really can't manage the vehicle. So I'm really I'd like to tip my hat off to whoever made the decision to put that ride vehicle outside the ride, right outside the attraction to try it. So good job, Henry.
Thank you. Well, also, it's one of my more favorite rides at Epcot now.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Impossible. Like, unless my limit currently is like 15, 20-minute wait. I don't think I'd wait longer than that.
Right.
It probably gets up to maybe 40 or 50, maybe 60 on super crowded days. But typically, it's 10-minute wait, and you get to go ride on a roller coaster and design this cool thing. It's a great time.
It's a lot of fun. Definitely worth checking out. All right, time for our last email of the day, and usually Mr. Newell picks it, but you know what? Since he had Henry pick it on last week's episode, Henry, why don't you keep things going here and pick our last email of the day today?
Exciting.
All right, so here are your options. Am I right to abandon my beloved Scopa Towers? Airlines and their wishy-washy schedules. Take my fast pass, please.
Oh.
I'm going to go with number 1.
All right. Last email of the day is from Alicia from Orange County, New York. Alicia on WW Today and touringplans.com. Hoorah! Woo. Hey, Len, Matt, Mike, and hopefully the fabulous Annette. Sorry, guys, but I had to give Len the first shout-out, as I'm sure we must be related in some way, given the fact that listening to him is like listening to myself talking half the time. Love the show. and listen to all day on my phone at work, frequently bursting out in laughter, which thrills my superiors to no end, and has my staff convinced I'm ready for the men with the white coats and nice padded room somewhere. And I don't go anywhere without the good book, aka my unofficial guide. Enough of the gratuitous sucking up and on to my good stuff. I recently changed my reservation for my upcoming trip from Scopa Towers to Port Orleans French Quarter. We stayed at Pop Century 3 years in a row and love it, but thought a change might be nice, especially considering we can swing it financially this year. Do you all think this was a wise choice? The one big concern I have is the buses. We usually choose Pop over the other Valley resorts because it had a dedicated bus system with only one stop. I had heard and read all different kinds of info regarding the buses at French Quarter. The cast members that took my reservation told me that French Quarter has its own bus system and does not share with Riverside, which is wrong. That I have read in several places, including the Good Book and All Ears, that the two resorts do share buses, which is correct. This is important to me as my husband would never rent a car who needs to be added to the expense of one when there are free buses. My time in the world is too important to me to sit on a bus that makes 4 or 5 stops. So what would you do about this? So, stay to Pop. Think I go to Port Orleans French Quarter, but among other things, worried about the bus service. And Alicia, the buses do share buses. French Quarter shares a bus with Riverside at times, like in the morning when everyone's going to the parks. If the bus fills up, it won't go to Riverside. There's no point, obviously, because everyone's want to get on the bus, and there's no point in sending a full bus around to a bunch of stops they can't do anything at. So they'll send you out there, but they do share buses. So when you come back at night or whenever you come back, and later on in the daytime, you will make multiple stops in the resort. So that much is true. So I guess with that in mind and Alicia's concerns, what would you guys recommend for Alicia to stay at Pop or make the jump to Port Orleans?
Well, firstly, I'm all for embracing change. I think there's so much of Walt Disney World to explore, and switching your resort from something that you've done the past 3 years and going to a new one is really cool experience, and can really sort of make the trip, especially if you go every year. That said, my first recommendation is to rent a car. If you can swing it. I actually, Matt, this is ridiculous. I'm sorry for sidetracking for a second. I have an Alamo rental car for 5 nights coming up in February. Guess how much I paid for it?
$300.
$48.
Wow.
And it is $17 before taxes and fees. So definitely check Mouse Savers,
Wow.
Hound the prices, keep checking every few days or every week to hopefully you can get price decreases closer to your dates. Anyway, I haven't had any major trouble with the French Quarter. I think I stayed there in December of last year for reunion. And the bus system seemed pretty efficient. I mean, it's always hit and miss. You could just miss a bus, and it's frustrating not knowing when the next bus will come.
Right.
But Scopa, do you have any thoughts?
I agree with Henry on embracing change. I personally stayed at 9 different resorts over the last year, and it was really interesting to experience different levels and all that. And I want to second his proposal about the rental car. I rented a car from Alamo, a Toyota Corolla, last week, 8 days, and I paid with fees $100 and $103. And it's something that people need to always keep in mind, is that when they go down there, time is a premium, and depending upon how you value your time, that will determine if you really want to take that dive and rent a car. Because if you do rely on Disney property, you'll spend a lot of time getting from one point to your destination than you would if you were in a car. One exception, obviously, is the Magic Kingdom. But I think that it's worth taking it's worth changing. And if you don't try something, you'll never know what you may have missed. So be prepared to, have a good time, and be prepared to learn something that you didn't know that will help you on your next trip. So I'd say go for it.
I agree.
Go for it.
I say, yeah, definitely. Got nothing. I think it's a good choice. Port Orleans French Quarter is a good resort. I think in terms of the resorts, if I had a list of resorts with good bus transportation and bad bus transportation, Port Orleans French Quarter would be on the good list. So it may not be perfect, but I still think it's a good option. So I'd say it's worth it. Go for it. Give it a try, especially if you haven't been there before. And you never know. Alicia has one last question. We visited Hollywood Studios for evening extra magic hours last October, and we found that in the Playhouse Disney building, they were having a dance party. There was a DJ, cast members organizing various dancers, and a whole slew of characters out dancing with the children. There were only about 15 to 20 other people there, which made it an amazing experience, as it was almost having a private party with Mickey and the gang. I had not heard of this activity advertised and have found nothing on it in the books or any websites. Do you know if there's something like they do this regularly for extra magic hours? Yeah, they do actually for evening extra magic hours. Evening, not morning. Evening. They'll do this dance party in Playhouse Disney, which is a lot of fun, like you just mentioned. It's mostly for the kids, but it's a great opportunity to be able to just dance with them. I'm not sure they do autographs or anything like that, but it does make very good photo opportunities. And like she said, they're not very they're sparsely attended because most people are writing Toy Story or Tower or whatever. So if that's what you're interested in, absolutely, it's a great option.
Learn something new every day, Hodgeberg.
There you go. Well, that's it for us today. If you want to find don't forget our sponsor of today's show. What am I forgetting? Is MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. And, planning that trip to Walt Disney World is not easy. We understand that there's a lot of questions you're going to run into. And, you can email us for those questions. Certainly, we love to hear from you and answer them for you. But, if you want a quicker response, if you want to have that one-on-one connection, have someone, a soundboard maybe, you just say, hey, you might as well do all that little stuff anyway, but I just, what do you think of this? What do you think of going from Pop to French Quarter, or doing, eating at this resort, or eating at this restaurant rather, or visiting this park on this day? What do you think of that? These travel agents are they're not just glorified computers. These are people who have years of Walt Disney World experience, and they can help you plan that trip to Walt Disney World. Check them out online at www.mousefantravel.com. Want to find our older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments? You can visit us online at wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Sopa, Mike Newell, and Henry Work, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.